One of the questions that comes up when you start to dive into the editorial process is how much should an edit cost? What should you budget for that part of the process? The answer is different for everybody, and it's due to a variety of factors. So let's go through what you should consider as you start to plan for the editorial process in your publishing journey. The first thing you need to do is figure out what type of edit you need. A developmental edit is going to have a different cost than a copy edit or a proofread. If you aren't quite sure what that means or how to figure that out, check out my video on how to figure out what type of edit you need. The second thing you want to consider is how many rounds of edits you'll want. So obviously, in addition to the price varying between different types of edits, you might want multiple rounds as well. So you may want a developmental edit and a copy edit, or maybe if your story is very complicated, you might want multiple rounds of a developmental edit. Now, obviously, there's a lot of varying costs with this. A lot of editors have different service packages, everything like that. So if you work with them on multiple different services or multiple rounds, you can get a different price. So in addition to the cost of the initial edit, you'll also want to consider how many rounds you may want, if more than one. The third thing you need to consider is how your genre and/or length are going to affect the cost. I know this seems a bit odd because you'd think developmental edit is a developmental edit, copy edit is a copy edit. Why does it matter what genre I'm in? But it is something the editor will consider as they give you an estimate or as you start to work with them. 120,000 word fantasy with epic world building, tons of characters, and crazy magic systems is definitely going to have a different price, most likely a higher price, than an 80,000 word contemporary romance that's set in the here and now and only has a couple of characters. So as you dive into pricing out what you might want to budget for your editorial process, you're going to want to keep in mind what you're writing as well as what type of services and how many rounds you want. Finally, then once you have all that information together, you then need to research your options. So there's a variety of resources out there that you can check out. The two that I highly recommend are the EFA, so the Editorial Freelancers Association, and Reedsy. So these are two of the leading websites online that can sort of show you a guideline for what editors might charge. So I took a screenshot of part of the EFA's website. I'll also put the link down below so you can check it out on your own. This has general guidelines as well as broken down by per hour or per word what an editor might charge depending on the type of edit as well as the genre of edit. Now, in my personal opinion, I think this skews a bit higher than a lot of freelance editors actually charge, at least for individual authors. This reflects the work of freelance editors across the board. A lot of that is working with companies, which is obviously generally at a higher premium, a higher price than what they would charge an individual that has a more limited budget. So while this is a good guideline, that's definitely something you want to keep in mind as you're looking at it and other resources. So the second one I wanted to bring up is Reedsy, which is a great online resource for if you're having trouble finding a reputable publishing contact. So it's not just for editorial, it's also for marketing, covers, publicity, everything like that. I'm personally on Reedsy as well. I've worked with a lot of really great authors. Because Reedsy has such close access with freelancers like myself, they are able to survey and have a bit more of an accurate measure of what freelancers charge indie authors or independent contractors as far as editing rates. So I would say looking at the EFA rates and these rates, you can find a general idea of what editors might be charging for the different types of services that you should be looking at. Reedsy also has a really great quiz on their site, so if you want to keep in mind your length and your genre and the type of service that you want, and you sort of want it to generate its own estimate of what it thinks you might pay for that type of service, you can definitely check that out as well. Again, I'll put the link below. One thing to note for Reedsy, again, it is an awesome service, but because you are working with a third party between you and your freelancer, regardless of whether it's editorial, publicity, cover, or whatever, there is a fee involved, which they are very upfront about, but it is something that you'll want to consider in addition to an added cost if that is the avenue that you choose to go through. So then once you have a general idea of what might be normal for the type of process you'd like to have your book go through for the edit, you start to research editors, whether that's through a service like Reedsy or whether you search them online. You reach out to several different editors and see what they charge and what their services entail. Everybody does things a little bit differently, so you'll want to note what their services include, how many rounds, whether they charge per word or per hour, everything like that. Basically how their process works. Definitely make sure you ask for a free sample edit, even if it's a very small glimpse of how they work, and really just dive in to make sure not only the budget works for you, but also that you share a vision with that editor and that you'll work well together. If you want to know more about what you should ask at this stage of the process, I also have a video on what to look for in an editor, so I'll put the link above for that as well. So now you have all your pieces. You know what to expect as far as price, what you might want to do as far as process, how to research, what might be involved, what questions to ask. You can put all this together and hopefully dive into the editorial process with confidence, being able to fit it in your schedule and your budget and find the right editor for you. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions about this or any other part of the editorial process. I'm always happy to help, and until next week, keep writing.